Cut. When we looked at patching, we were able to redirect our say hello function to our patch version. What we're doing now is we're creating essentially a test double as a class, which is going to start to look a bit like mock. So we're importing our modulo 2, which is basically our function here. We're creating a test W. We're setting up our console for rich. And we have a class test double that takes in a message as its constructor argument. We have a method, mock say hello, that basically returns that message. So we can create an object of test double, and I'm going to pass in this custom string with rich, red, and bold. We're going to get the ID of module 02 say hello, the last 5 digits. We're going to call it with an argument. We're then going to patch that function that we have in sysmodules, modulo 2 say hello, the reference, the ID reference to say hello, to actually point to an instance of our test double and to the function, we're not calling it, but to the reference of that function, mocked say hello, in our test double. We then print out the original IDs and then the new test double IDs and call the function. And we'll comment this out. So we'll do Python 01. We come in here, section 01, do tab, get there, 00 gets us into that other folder, and we want 03 tab. When we run that, we get the original ID, and then we get the return of our say hello, which is a red test double value. And if we come back up here, our test double has this red bold test double value message sent in. The original is just blue bold, original modulo 2 say hello. That's the argument we're passing into the function. So it returns original module 02 in blue. But when we patch it, when we redirect our say hello on modulo 2 to an instance of our test W and its method mock say hello, when we use that and pass in our test W says hello here, when we pass that in, we can basically get that test double value. So we're printing out what is our test double going to say. It's going to go to sysmodules, modulo 2 say hello function. That's now been patched to say hello to object mock say hello. That has now been replaced with red bold test double value. That's what it's going to return as opposed to the original value. And we can see that here. So this is giving us an idea now when we're creating a mock double, all we're really doing is redirecting references to our doubles. And I prefer the word test double to say mock patch or monkey patch because it's quite clear we've got a test double, a double like in a film, like a stunt double. Whether we call it mock patch or monkey patch, there's various arguments about that. But all we're doing is repointing, as we've seen before, that in our sys modules, the reference of say hello, when it goes, this is just an ID, where it points to is now going to point to something totally different, and that is our test double. So the idea of when we're using mocks as a system, it's a method of conveniently changing references and undoing them without us having to do all this heavy work. So under the hood, this is what mock is doing. It's redirecting functions to test doubles and then unreferencing them and putting everything back to normal to make our life convenient. Lastly, in 04 attribute dynamically pi, I've now renamed this to mock. So now we're getting it back here. We're using a certain formula, m equals mock patch, for example, doing exactly what we did before. We can also add a new method, not just a property. And what we can do is on our instance, we can set the attribute of our function to a mocked function dynamically at runtime, and we can then do mocking. So this example 04 is how do we add an attribute dynamically at runtime, and it's just classes. So we can see our original function has mock say hello, but we can add on a new dynamic mock method that does something in yellow, and we can set the attribute of mock say hello to that, so that when we call say hello, we're actually getting our dynamic version rather than in previous example more of our static version. So let's run that. Clear the screen. 04 tab 01 section fundamentals 0004. Now we get the yellow dynamically versioned. So we saw in 03 how we had mock say hello as part of our test double. We come into 04, we're calling it now our class, we're calling it mock. We've still got that mock say hello function, but at runtime we can add on a new attribute to M of mock say hello. We can replace it, we can set the attribute of mock say hello to the dynamic mock method, which is here, which returns something in yellow with a different context, different text. So when we run it, we now get our dynamically added mocked method return value. So this has been under the hood to see how we can mock or patch, if you want to call it that way, by changing the reference for sys modules of where things are actually located to different functions. Cut.